I still love beauty content on YouTube, even though it's not as popular as it was in like 2019. Yeah, so I would sneak into my sister's room. I can't believe I'm admitting this. I would sneak into my sister's room on days after school and just play with makeup and do all these fun eyeshadow looks that I've never recreated, eyeshadow looks that I haven't done, but color and full coverage, and just imagine 2016 to 2018 makeup. That was what I was doing. I love makeup so much, and I've been thinking, like, why do I enjoy it? I think it's because it's a creative outlet for me. Like, it's one way that I can express some kind of creativity that's not through my clothing, because I'm not very fashionably inclined. No, not really. I think I'm gonna switch to. This might be a bit jarring for someone, but I'm going to switch to soft spoken because I've never done soft spoken on this channel, so let's do it today. So anyway, back to what we're talking about. I'm not very fashionably inclined, and clothing has never been the way that I like to express my individuality. And hair, I mean, right now my hair is in head wrap, but typically I don't really experiment with my hair that often. I don't experiment with different braiding styles all that often, or even different kinds of colors of hair and braids and stuff. I normally am just like, it's either one or it's 1B. Like, I'm not experimenting in that way. But when it comes to makeup, I love to explore different looks and do colorful looks in graphic liner. I'm going to include some pictures here actually of some of my pre-shower makeup. Let's talk about pre-shower makeup, because I've been doing pre-shower makeup forever. And when I found out that that was a thing that every other makeup wearing girl does as well, I was like, look at me moving back into it. But you know what? We're going in and out of it as I see fit, as I feel comfortable. We're going to go in and out of it. When I saw, like, all the videos about pre-shower makeup, I was like, oh my goodness, wow, we're all doing this. We're all doing these crazy cool looks and then just immediately washing them off. But yeah, that's so. Makeup is an outlet for creativity. I don't just view it as a way of looking presentable, or because some of the makeup that I enjoy doing is not appropriate in every single context. Definitely not in like a corporate context. It's not appropriate everywhere, but I don't mind. I like it. I like to do cool, colorful eyeshadow. I'm really, really into graphic liner looks and whatnot. So yeah, makeup is one thing that I really, really love. Let me get the eyeshadow palette that I used to do this eye today. If you watched other videos of mine, you've definitely seen this palette. This is the Berries palette the Berries 9-pan palette by Beauty Bay. Let me open it up. There's a mirror, so I need to cover it. There are such beautiful tones. Oopsie. Let me just hold it like this. There are such beautiful berry tones in this. I use this shade right here, which is, I think, the shade is called Journal. That's foreshadowing. So I use the shade Journal today, just in the grey sort of kinda. Then I use the shade Jura, Jura. I pronounce it as Jura. I don't know how you would pronounce that. And that's the shade on my lid. I never do a super opaque shimmer lid because that's just not what I'm into, but I like to have just some shimmer on the eye. And the pink that's just like wrapped around that purple is a shade, this vibrant magenta in the thoughts, but it's also an ephemeral thing that when I feel it, I want to just be able to write it out all out and leave it there so that it exists in the world, but like it doesn't remain in anyone's memory except in my own. So it's a way of, it really is cathartic, and everyone would say this about journaling. It is cathartic because you give there's a physical space that your thoughts take up. There's a physical space where your thoughts can exist, and I think that's important. If the space that your thoughts exist in isn't in someone else's memory, would be in, like the place that your thoughts would exist would be in someone else's memory if you were sharing them with people, if you were sharing them with your family or your friends or a mental health care provider. But having a journal, if you're an overthinker, I would always suggest having a journal because it's just a great practice to have, to write, and writing and beyond that, writing and literacy is incredibly important. So if you're have a practice of regularly writing, that's a great thing. That's a really, really great thing. Writing is very important to me. I'm currently in university trying to be a writer. So writing is something that is important to me, and this is one way in which I continue to exercise and develop that skill. Yeah, so let's just flip through the pages. I will never ever read any of the entries because they're way too personal. So yeah. Actually, change of plans. I am gonna read from this journal, but you won't know what I'm saying. This actually reminds me of a GB video that I've watched before, where she has she has, oh my god, my mind is blanking. Yeah, it's a GB video, and she's reading her diary entries from when she was like in year 7, but she's not actually really reading them. She's like unintelligibly whispering. So let's try to get it right here. Oh wow, this is like a very, very good angle. Sunday, last Sunday, the 16th of March. It's also, I mean, well, for everyone that watches Formula 1, but if you don't, the Australian Grand Prix is also the first Grand Prix of the season, so it's also great. I wish I was there this year, but maybe next year. So I got into Formula 1 in 2021, which I think was a great time, because I think the 2021 season was really great, really competitive, really a nail-biting season. And as a Hamilton fan, I was devastated. So, as amazing as that season one, it did leave me traumatized. Trauma. It's a film about trauma. So it left me traumatized, but nevertheless, I continue to follow the sport. I enjoy it. So I got into it back in 2021 through a podcast that I used to listen to. It no longer exists. The podcast ended, but it was a podcast called the Say Your Mind podcast by a magnificent, multi-hyphenated, talented human being named Kalachioko. And, you know, she had a little segment in her podcast talking about Formula 1. And that was the thing that got me interested. That was the thing that got me interested in the sport. And she was so entertaining and so charismatic and just so funny, and so it made me very interested. And as I began to watch the races, and listening to her podcast, I was able to really truly get into it. Also on Netflix, there's the show Drive to Survive. So if you want to get into Formula 1, watch that show. There's 7 seasons, and watch it. It'll give you some background on all of the drivers on the grid. Well, not all of them, some of them are gone. But yeah, give you background on the drivers and a little bit of their backstories about their story arcs. And it'll give you a real rundown on Formula 1, how it works, and notable events in recent history. So, yes. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about this last Grand Prix, the Australian Grand Prix held in Melbourne. Let's have a discussion about the real villain, the villain of the day. I have two villains, two enemies of progress. Number one is Melbourne weather. Melbourne weather is diabolical. Melbourne weather is untrustworthy. Melbourne weather is a malevolent, malignant force in the world. It should never be trusted. And you would know that. To all the Melburnians, you know that about your city. You know about the way that it can rain on maybe 5 to 8 separate occasions throughout one day. You know that. But you know who else should have known that and anticipated that? Scuderia Ferrari. Scuderia Ferrari should have known that. And you know, we've been saying, if you've been picking it up, if you follow Formula 1, we have been talking about how Ferrari is like, I don't know what's going on in the pit. I don't know what type of strategy they be having. It be no strategy. They just be like vibing out. Like, they come into the garage and they're like, how about we just vibe out? How about we vibe out in the most nonsensical way? Why are you doing this? There's 2 drivers on the track. They're relying on you to think properly. At this point, Ferrari, what's going on? Like, I really believe that some of these races, Ferrari's like, do you know what we do? Like, what the Ferrari pit team does. What I really believe the Ferrari pit team does before they get in, before they start a race, I think they all collectively come together and smoke crack. That's the only thing they can be doing, because that's the only thing some like BS like strategy, and it's like, you know that we can hear you on the radio, we can hear you, we can hear the stupidity, we can hear it. You guys couldn't open up someone's phone to check the weather app to see that it was gonna rain again. You couldn't do that. You couldn't even do that to check. And then they were left there on hard tires in the rain. You're spinning out. And this was their dumb ass strategy that left Hamilton and Leclerc. How did they drop places? Hamilton and Leclerc started. Leclerc P7, Hamilton P8. How they end the race? They end the race was Hamilton P11 or P10 he ended. I'll put it up here, I'll put the text up here, I'll check, and I'll put the I think he ended the race like P10 and Leclerc was like P8, and it's like, how did they drop down? Where at some point they were leading the race? Well, it was a very, very short point, but I'm still thinking about that. Let's talk about Lando Norris actually. This is about to become a video about F1, but it's not. Now that McLaren car is quick. That McLaren car is amazing. The fact that Piastri in P2 had like a 15-second lead on Verstappen in P3. That McLaren car is on a different type of time. They're on a different type of time in that car. So then, as we approach the end of the race, so the race ends and Lando Norris wins. So you have Lando Norris P1 wins. Then you have Verstappen for Red Bull P2. And then you have George Russell for Mercedes AMG Petronas. Van Michaels Dupree. They have like a million names in third, which is kind of crazy, but you know what? They just had to hold out. And you got it. But then in the post interviews, when they're talking to Lando, to Mr. Norris, why is it when it's you in this amazing car? Yeah, so I was about to call him Lawrence, but that's no one else. Lando, how about when it's you and this amazing car? You want to talk about? Oh yeah, I mean the car is good. The car is faster by a small margin. 15 seconds is a small margin. In what world is 15 seconds a small margin? You just on the car. It's just, well, we drove phenomenally. I'm not saying that other drivers didn't, but we drove pretty good. But this is the same Lando Norris that years prior, when it was Verstappen or Hamilton dominating, would always talk about, well, Hamilton has the best car, so of course he's gonna win the races, or Verstappen. And even though I'm not a Red Bull fan and I'm not even a big fan of Verstappen, one thing I have to acknowledge is that when that car is amazing, he says, well, I'm driving a fighter jet. I'm driving a rocket ship. The car is amazing, and Verstappen is a phenomenal driver. So yeah, but Lando now, he doesn't want to talk about the car. He doesn't want to talk about how good the car is. But when it was yesteryear, then it was, oh well, of course they would, because they have the best car. Well, now you have the best car, but you don't want to talk about the car. You want to just talk about you and your amazing driving skills. Please miss me with that. But you know what? This is the first race of the season, and I hope to God that this first race isn't an omen for how the rest of the 2025 Formula One season is gonna go. Please let it not be. Please, Ferrari, I need you to put your thinking caps on. Ferrari, please. Ferrari, please drive crazy because, like I said, anyways, he passed away. I think the 21st of April 2016, right? And I got into him during the pandemic. So in 2020, I was like listening to his music, and I'm like, oh my goodness, Prince is so amazing. Because, okay, even though, like, okay, Prince is one of the most famous musicians of all time. He has like one of the highest and the highest selling musicians of all time, and that. But I feel like when we talk about the three mega superstars that came out of the 80s, we're talking about Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Prince. I feel like Michael and Madonna had, MJ and Madonna had much better, like, I don't know when it is, maybe when they resonate a lot more with younger audiences, and they're like, I don't know, it's just, I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like I don't find a lot of young Prince fans in a way that I find young Michael Jackson fans, and even like young Madonna fans. But anyway, so I got into him in 2020, and I've been making my way through his albums. Mind you, I think this man has like released like 40 albums, or 39 albums, I believe 39 albums in his lifetime. So there's a lot of music to get through. I am up to Love Sexy, which is his, wait, what number? Okay, first album, For You, second album, self-titled Prince, third album, Dirty Mind, fourth album, Controversy, fifth album, 1999, sixth album, Purple Rain, seventh album, Around the World in a Day, eighth album, Parade, yes, Parade, ninth album, Sign of the Times, 10th album, Love Sexy is his 10th album, released in 1988, so I'm up to that album right now. I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm up to listening to it, and I'm just finding myself enjoying his music more and more and more as I listen to it, as I re-listen to it, as I go back to favorites and stuff. So let me talk about my favorite albums of his and talk about my favorite songs. Unfortunately, I'm filming on my phone, and that's where obviously I listen to music on my phone. My favorite Prince album right now is Sign of the Times, and I had known of Sign of the Times, and I knew that it was like one of, if not his best album. So Sign of the Times, I knew was one of, if not his best album. That's what, you know, the consensus is. So I was like so excited for it, and it lived up to the hype. I love that record so much. I can't even tell you my favorite tracks on, like my absolute favorite track, Changes. So right now, let me just give you a list of my favorite songs in the album. So we have the title track, which is the first track of the album, Sign of the Times. Love that song so much. Sign of the Times. I love Housequake. Housequake, I love it. Love Ballad of Dorothy Parker. Love Adore. There's another one that I'm missing out on. If I Was Your Girlfriend. Love. So those are my favorite tracks on Sign of the Times. My second favorite Prince album is his self-titled Prince, which he released, which was his second album, released in, I believe, 1979. My favorite track on that album is Why You Wanna Treat Me So Bad. But like, I Wanna Be Your Lover, Bambi is on